Righto, we're in Matthew chapter 8, and it's week 2 of the series for us.
Dude.
We've also just been reshuffling our 3 chairs here, which is quite uncomfortable below the camera, but it's nothing compared to the disruption that Jesus is bringing in this passage. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that is fair, yes. You certainly have disrupted my train of thought, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it struck me that was a thread that was fairly key, holding this talk together, like coming out of the blocks. We're 2 weeks in, but the question of what it's going to cost following this Jesus who's come down from the mountain and calling us to go with him in that journey to the new creation. But the wilderness is not. It's neither a safe place nor a comfortable place, and it just seems that Jesus is gathering people into that discomfort.
Yeah, it's an interesting setup that Jesus starts with because he's come down the mountain, he's getting ready to cross the lake, and after that decision to go to the other side, there's this random teacher of the law that comes up and goes, Jesus, I'm going to follow you anywhere. And he goes, look, cool story, but actually the Son of Man has no place to rest his head. Like foxes have got dens and birds have got nests, but Son of Man has no rest. Translation, I am going to disrupt your entire life if you follow me. Get ready for the storms that are to come. And, or I don't know, I'm entirely certain it just went straight over his head. And then the other disciple goes, oh, yep, what do you reckon? Can I just go and bury my dad? And Jesus goes, no, let the dead bury their own dead. Following me has urgency. Your response needs to be immediate. It's not a someday at some point, come on down. It's now or never, which is so confrontational. It's just like, I feel like lucky Jesus wasn't operating in like Port Adelaide and operating with South Australians, because he goes, now or never. You go, whoa, that's confrontational. We don't want conflict. But it's just really interesting to see how Jesus sets up his disciples for what's to come, so that they shouldn't be surprised when the storms pop up. They shouldn't be surprised when there's spiritual chaos, because that's exactly what Jesus is preparing his disciples for.
There was a line that you said somewhere in that spot that was about that call of obedience that should hear as urgent, and in a sense that call of obedience is a choice. To follow Jesus is therefore going to be to ensure other priorities are back in their proper place. But yeah, you had a line about the distractions that might take us off course. I think it was something like distraction is delayed devotion.
Yeah, so I think what's interesting about the second disciple, not the teacher of the law, but the disciple says, first let me go bury my father. That episode looks really interesting when you go, isn't it reasonable to go and have a funeral? What's going on there? I'm fairly convinced that it's actually a Greek idiom that we don't really understand now. It's a bit more like, hey, Jesus, first let me, like, Dad's in a nursing home. He doesn't have a lot of super. I'm kind of his only support. Like, I go around once a week. Can you just let me see out my family responsibility, see out my dad? Then I will have time and space and energy and financial resources and the capacity to follow you. Can you just wait until I've sorted out my family first? And Jesus says, nah, let the dead bury the dead, which is not like, it's not he's not being vulgar at that point. He's just saying, look, those who are spiritually dead can continue on with the old school world. And I think for me, sorry, very long way of getting back to what you said. For me, the desire to follow Jesus is in that disciple. He does want to follow Jesus. He is convinced that Jesus is worth following. He declares an allegiance and a desire to follow Jesus, but there is a temporal barrier that is preventing his immediate action. And it's that Jesus is reacting against. He's like, follow me now, not in 15 years when your family commitments have concluded with the passing of the family, but now. It is now that you are to follow me, not when everything sorts itself out at home. Mm-hmm. And for me, that was a distraction to following Jesus for him. That distraction is, there is devotion. Don't get me wrong, right? The guy is devoted to Jesus, but the devotion to Jesus is contextual, and he's like, oh, I want to express full devotion at some point, but now I've got an ordered devotion. I've got a limited devotion because these other things are taking my brain space and where I want to actually be living my life. And so, distraction as delayed devotion really wraps up our entirety of our life. And I see that really clearly with a few different groups of people. But as I interact with particularly teenagers and young adults, what is usually what is usually in their mind is a number of things: relationship, setting themselves up for career success, financial stability. There's usually people are chasing something like the ordinary idols that we see of sex, money, power are pretty pervasive within our society. But young people are like, really keen to get hooked into strong discipleship relationship. But I've got to find someone and get married first. I really am keen on this Jesus thing, but work's pretty hectic at the moment. And if I just churn in the corporate structures for a few years, I'll get to be a manager, and then things will cool off a bit, and I'll have more time and space to invest in local community. Housing, like, have you seen inflation lately? The housing price, if you don't get in at the ground floor, you're never going to be able to get onto that property ladder. All of those things are not inherently bad, right? I'm not saying don't be in a relationship, don't have a job, don't buy a house. But all of those things are often used as a barrier to discipleship and express that concept of delayed devotion, which I think is it's a massive problem because Jesus doesn't call our future selves. He actually calls us today. And who knows, maybe you can actually be more effective at all the rest of your life if you're a well-ordered follower of Jesus who's living their life in light of his intentions for our lives. I don't want to just pick on young people, right? But like the same thing can be said, like middle-aged people who are like, I haven't slept in years because of my kids. When the kids grow up a little and I'm sleeping through the night, then I can start to do this. I'm in my 60s, I'm pushing towards retirement. When I'm retired, I'll have heaps more time to engage with this. When I've got enough super, when I've got enough this, when I've paid off the house, when I've moved into this particular when I've downsized. All of these are just opportunities to ignore Jesus and lean into the distraction of delayed devotion. And so, I just think Matthew 8 really gives us a really clear indication of reassessing our priorities and ordering Jesus as the first priority, which is infinitely more helpful than all of our other things that, like, eventually we'll all get put in a box and put in the ground and none of that stuff will matter.
I'm going to ask you, Jared, you were going to say that?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that that line that he says carries a lot of weight with it. I think you already said that, but like, let the dead bury their own dead. It seems like this is not just another prophet. Like, there's something far more significant going on. This isn't, this is far more than just a day-to-day thing, something to add into your list of new trends and fun things to follow. This is actually carrying a lot of weight with it. And you picked up on something like that with Elijah. Did you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, so 1 Kings 19, Elijah calls Elisha, and in that episode, the call's immediate to Elisha, and he goes, can I just go and say bye to mum? I'll just go and give her a kiss and say goodbye. The cost is still significant, right? There's still a severing of that familial obligation. But there's a moment of closure. There's that. And the exact wording, I can't remember, Elijah's like, what am I to stand in your road or something like that, which is basically, like, go to town. Like, I'm this person that you're going to follow, but there is time.
Yeah.
Delay's okay, and go look after your family. In a sense, it's like, I'm just a prophet, right? Like, yes, it's good to follow me. Yes, it's going to be costly, but there's time.
Yeah.
And so when Jesus echoes that exact same sentiment, you're expecting, if you pick up on that Elijah-Elisha lens, you kind of go, oh yeah, he can go say goodbye to his family. That's a reasonable thing when you're following a prophet.
Mm-hmm.
But as he goes, no, let the dead bury their dead, you go, right, he is a new Elijah, but he's actually more than just an Elijah. He's actually the Son of God.
With the implication of bringing life. Like, if these are the dead, then therefore you are not dead. You are following something different. Yeah. Like that's...
Matthew's gospel's less time oriented, but in other gospels we see my time has not yet come, my time has not yet come, my time has not yet come, the time is now. So that's kind of Mark's lens. But in Matthew, it's really interesting. There is that immediacy that's popped up.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, now's the time to follow. Are you on the boat or are you missing the boat?
Mm.
And it's a literal boat, but there's also a metaphoric boat here going on as well.
I think that urgency in Matthew is something that stuck out to me reflecting on Elijah, because that Elijah story, it actually looks like a crisis moment for Israel. And Elijah's sort of just had his kind of mopey downer moment of kind of going, yeah, I'm the only one. No one else is following you, Lord. Everyone else is sold into paganism. And I love the connections between Elijah and Moses that surface where Elijah flees into the wilderness.
Yeah.
He goes up Moses' mountain, Mount Sinai, to get a word from God. He's up there 40 days and 40 nights. God tells him, I've reserved X amount of people that have not bowed the knee to Baal, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But Jezebel is sort of hunting him down. So there's a threat, there's crisis.
Yeah.
God has sort of said there's protection here for you. But yeah, Israel is facing kind of a fork in the road moment, and there's a choice to make. And that's when Elisha comes up. So you kind of go, the backdrop of everything that's happened would definitely indicate, yeah, this is, a crisis moment. But yeah, Elijah's going, what have I done to you? Yeah, of course you go back and say goodbye to you. So it's just interesting. If that's the backdrop for Israel back there, then what's going on in Israel here that for Jesus it's going, no, this is so urgent. It really is leave everything else and come right now. And I think I'm struck having heard Jesus pose that question for us as he met the centurion last week and said, I have not seen such faith in Israel. We're kind of getting these little encounters with different members of Israel and going, are we going to see faith? The kind of faith that's going to, truly count the cost and make the sacrifice and choose this day who you will serve. You can't stay in bed with your idols.
Yeah. It's interesting, no one's immune to this challenge because we've got the teacher of the law. So there's like, as a representative of the establishment, you've got the disciple who's presumably someone of Jewish origin who's been following Jesus. And then we meet the Gentiles on the other side of the lake. So this whole episode, no one's immune. Everyone's been confronted with this challenge. And that call to immediacy, like you blink and you miss it. So if this disciple doesn't get in the boat, he gets left behind. If the Gentile town doesn't respond, Jesus is going. So this is like Jesus, how do I word it without being a heretic? Jesus' presence in Matthew 8 is Jesus' presence with these particular individuals is temporary. They've got limited exposure to Jesus in this particular moment. And so he's not going to do a final tour. It's not like
Last Chance.
He's not like whatever that 70s band, not a
John Farnham. One
more. John Farnham's final tour. He's up to like his 10th final tour.
He might have actually parked the bus now.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I've got tickets to his next show. No. But yeah, like Jesus is passing through this region, and it's like, I'm the Son of God, follow me now. Yeah. I'm gone, you'll never see me again. And this moment, this decision is of eternal significance but you've only got a narrow window to respond.
Mm.
And it's just kind of raising the urgency and raising that tension as we accelerate towards death, resurrection, ascension, and commissioning of God's people to go and do that ends of the earth kind of stuff. Yeah, but I guess he does get on the boat. Does the disciple or the teacher of the law follow? Don't know. Yep. Not mentioned.
Which is kind of nice. It's left open ended to then make you go back to yourself and go, well, what am I doing in that situation? I'm there in the story too. Which way am I going?
Would I have got on the boat?
Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah.
That's a big question. But I just love, he gets on the boat. They start sailing across to the other side, and Jesus goes to sleep. Yeah. And I do love that picture where, like he says, I've got no place to rest my head, but then he goes and has a sleep in the boat. I was just like that. There's an awkward tension there. I was like, there's some irony in that picture. And yeah, I just in my mind, I was like, the disciples were like, hang on, you literally just finished telling us you got no place to rest your head, and now your head is here on the pillow. You're having a sleep.
Of all moments.
Of all moments.
Does that say something about the kind of rest he's talking about?
Oh, what do you mean by that?
I don't know if I'm going to be able to articulate this better. Not something of just, the temporary rest, which leads into another bout of exhaustion after you've done more work, but an actual completion of work and resolution to this long story that we've seen all the way from the garden into now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Jesus isn't saying, I'm an insomniac and I can't have a nap. He's kind of really leaning again into that suffering servant motif, where he's saying things like, he articulates in other Gospels, prophet has no honor in their hometown. The suffering servant has to die. He's going to lay down his life. But there is that disruption to your lifestyle and your security and the ways that you're actually heading in a particular direction. And so absolutely, when he says, I've got no place to lie my head, there's no safety and security and consistency until that eternal final rest. And for him, that's sitting at the right hand of the Father, judging the living and the dead, which, yeah.
And strangely, it feels like it straddles a nice, both a true scenario where, on the one hand, following Jesus will take you into places that are unsettling enough and disrupting enough that it'll feel like a kind of homelessness, and this isn't my comfort spot, and I'm being stretched and pushed, and yes, no place to lay my head. And yet, ironically, and I think just this is the testimony of many of us and many much wiser, faithful Christians than me, but following the Lord actually enables you to put your head on the pillow at night, even in the midst of some of the most, straining and stretching and difficult life circumstances, that it's actually quite appropriate that Jesus puts his head down on the boat when this storm's happening.
Yeah.
And yet he's on the move and he doesn't have a spot to sleep. But those two things are actually both true in our journey of faith.
Absolutely. And I love there's dramatic irony in the scene as Jesus is asleep. The disciples are terrified. They wake Jesus with a urgent call to action, and it's like, don't you care if we drown? We're going to drown. We're dead. We're dead men walking, dead men bobbing up and down with motion sickness. And at that particular moment, Jesus, as he speaks a rebuke, we expect the wind and the waves to be calmed because we know that's kind of what Jesus does. But he rags on his disciples whilst the storm's still going. You of little faith, why are you afraid? And the answer is because there's a dirty, great big storm that's going to take our lives, Jesus. It's not unreasonable for them to be scared of the storm unless they're with the Son of God who spoke creation into being and has the ability to speak and fix and calm. And so as Jesus says, why do you have little faith? quiet, be still, and it dies down, it's almost like the command to the wind and the waves is a backdrop to this interaction about, guys, faith is really important. And why do you let little stuff like a massive storm that's going to kill you worry you? That you've got much bigger problems. And that's then the transition to the spiritual realities in the what is the Gerasenes at the other side of the lake. And you go, you think this storm is bad? Well, just wait until you see what's waiting in Gentile territory. This storm is a precursor to the one, and just like I calm that one, I'm going to calm this one going forward. And so, yeah, it's just fascinating that the two critiques are: why are you afraid? Why do you have no faith? Which I think tells you heaps about who Jesus is, what his agenda is, and what our response needs to be to him.
It's another little notch on, last week what you were reflecting on about what kind of faith is the faith that Jesus is looking for that pleases him.
Yeah.
This sort of straddles something about the interconnection between fear and faith, and perhaps in our tradition, ways that fears can actually, become barriers or obstacles to asking God with eager expectation and confidence and assuredness that God delights to do and fulfill his word and his promises. That should make us to be the kind of people that come to the Father and ask for a glass of milk at 2 a.m. in the morning. With that quote in the backdrop. But have that kind of audacity to ask the Father.
I don't want to miss the fact that I'm pleased that the disciples actually went to Jesus with their problem. That's a good instinct.
Yeah.
And their instinct is vindicated in the fact that he does calm the storm.
Yeah.
But I do love how Jesus doesn't just answer their question and solve their problem. He also wants to disrupt their life and their lifestyle and their spirituality and the way they're operating. And so he goes, yes, I will calm the storm. Yes, you're alive. But this is actually not about the storm. This is about you and your formation and your discipleship of me. Follow me. Don't be afraid. Trust and have faith. Which I think that's a beautiful setup. And it's a beautiful setup for the next segment where we actually move into the other side of the lake, where Jesus is again going to be talking about issues of safety, and there'll be death and there'll be water, and there's all sorts of stuff going on there. But for the disciples, kind of putting those two episodes next to each other, I think they're more afraid of the water than they are of the demons. But Jesus, I think, is actually putting them side by side and going, well, actually, this is a big issue. The spiritual realities of this Gentile town and the two men that are possessed. This is actually more of a concern than a few waves and a little bit of wind, because this is actually significant.
Which kind of raises the stakes for what kind of Messiah are you expecting to come? Okay, be great to have the leader who deals with our political issue here right now in Israel. Things are a little bit tenuous. Maybe great to have the military hero that might come in and bring freedom and release, and wow, a new Moses perhaps that would be quite good, get us out of Egypt. But this sort of heightens the stakes. It's sort of actually if the real enemy is the work of the evil one and the powers of darkness, then the urgency is only greater to quick line up behind the one who has a power and authority over the works of evil in this world, and who's on about bringing that kind of cleansing.
I think it's really interesting. Like the whole disruption lens is very clear here, but the Gentile town, their existence had already been disrupted by these demons that had possessed these two men, and so it says there that they can't. No one could pass by this way because of the violent strength of the two individuals, and so they're in the tombs as well. So it's it's impacting people's ability to bury their dead, which you like the dead burying the dead from the earlier episode. Passing by that way, so land access to this region, there's all sorts of issues that have raised by the existence and location of these two demons, these two groups of demons in these two men, and that's marker or the moment that they have become comfortable with. So obviously, like, I don't think they like the two blokes having demon possession. I don't think they like that, but they've kind of got comfortable and familiar with what that is. And so as Jesus comes in, rebukes the demons, sends them into the pigs and sends the pigs into the water, it disrupts the disruption, but the town actually preferred it the way that it was beforehand. There's just something really it's just a bit icky.
It's like Paul's odor of death has come to the town, and it stinks.
And so, like, I don't know what a herd of rotten pigs bobbing in the water would smell like, but I can't imagine that would be a particularly pleasant aroma. There is the stench of death, and like we played with a little bit, but there's ceremonial uncleanliness everywhere. Gentile territory. There's pigs. There's demons. There's the tomb. There's all this stuff that's just going. Oh yeah, this is a dirty place. And so it's interesting that the Messiah is cleaning it up, is sweeping the house clean, like he pushes the demons into the pigs into the water. But the thing that I'm really curious about is the fact that the demons are so concerned about Jesus' judgment. They call it torture, but they're so concerned about what's essentially like hell. They're so concerned about hell that they'd rather go into a herd of pigs than be subject to God's judgments. That should ring a warning sign to us. If demons who have an active knowledge of what's going on in the spiritual realm would rather be pigged than judged, we should take that good, bad example to light and actually have a similar fear of the judgment of God rather than just plowing through life.
Probably seems like the disciples' fear on the boat was inappropriate and misplaced. The demons' fear of the Messiah and the judgment was entirely appropriate. And that is the right response.
And even in Jesus' command to go and allowing the demons to go into the pigs, he rightly puts them in judgment, and the pigs die. We played with the Jewish symbolism idea, but the waters being a location for judgment, sin, evil. Part of the cleanup is actually rightly ordering evil into its rightful location, the place of judgment. And so as judgment is executed on uncleanness and evil, the town comes out to meet Jesus, and they are put in the same position as the disciple and the teacher of the law on the other side of the boat. It's like, are you going to follow me? And what's their response? It's, will you please leave our town? And so they are going, we don't want to get in the boat and follow you. We don't want your help going through the storms of life. We're really happy
with the status
quo. And I think elsewhere, and it might be in Matthew, it might be coming up, but the exploration about Jesus' parable about demons.
Matthew 12.
Good, it is coming up. I was just like, I've been sitting in it recently. I think that was in the plan. But what good is it for one demon to be exorcised and have the house clean? 7 more powerful will come in and pollute the space. And so, as I've got Matthew 12 sitting in my head in this episode, I was like, right, you've rejected the Messiah. The Messiah, they've asked him to leave. They're already, like, the demons are already significant enough to be able to infect a whole herd of pigs. What's coming for you? You're going to be just like the pigs. This is actually a judgment coming on this town. I find it really sad because Matthew is quite keen to show that Jesus is going first to the lost sheep of Israel, and there's less pictures of Gentile inclusion, although we've seen like the centurion is there. This would be a really nice place for a beautiful picture of Gentile inclusion, particularly off the back of what's quasi-implied that the teacher of the law and the disciple lean into their distractions rather than the Messiah. But we've also got this town leaning into the distraction of the status quo rather than actually following the Messiah. And that's, that's sad. I would much prefer to be reading about this town that's like, thank you so much, your Lord, let's follow you. But the pull of the status quo is so significant. It's just a sad morning for us.
Jared, was there possibly a question that Davo posed at this point that resonated for you? Do you remember?
Oh, hey, John. Yes, there did happen to be a question which I was paying close attention to on Sunday. And it went something along the lines of what we asked Jesus to leave alone could well represent what we value the most and what we idolize the most. Yeah. How did you arrive at thinking about that?
So I think when you're... Sorry, did you want to say that? No. I think when you're presented with crisis moments, you reach for the things that you value. So if you were to think, my house is on fire, what am I going to reach for? My instinct is I would probably reach for my family. I'd probably reach for my wallet or phone or car keys. What are the things that I'd actually reach for in that moment? That's a clarifying and crystallizing moment that actually reveals what you value. And it may not actually be, you might not be cognizant of what is going on at that particular point, but that moment of crisis actually reveals what lingers in your heart and what's actually most valuable to you. And so if I'd have posed the question to you to say, if God was to fix me and make me perfectly like Jesus, what are the bits of my life that I'd really prefer that he didn't touch? What would I like him to leave alone? It's those things that actually would be reveal what's actually going on in our heart. And so, for instance, if you go, I'm really attached to, I'm attached to a particular sin or a particular relationship or a particular posture or whatever it is, that will be revealed through what's going on in your heart at that particular point in time. I think it's revealed quite clearly when if you think, what are the sins that you're currently struggling with? How long have you been struggling with that particular sin? Is that something that you've been struggling with for 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years? If you've been struggling with it for 60 years, are you actually struggling with it, or are you trying to convince yourself that it's bad, but you really like it, and so you're just pretending like it's a struggle when actually you've determined long ago that you're actually worshipping that idol and you want that to continue in your life, but you want to placate your guilt of how you feel before God. And so in the same way that the townspeople are asking Jesus to leave because their status quo is valuable to them, the same thing happens with sin all the time. Greed, like sex, money, power, greed, all these things that actually are not just superficial sins that are one-off, but things that actually deeply embed into our lives and our lifestyles and our attitudes and our thoughts and our theological perspectives on certain things. Even the theologies you try and defend because of a lifestyle thing, I think is another way that actually reveals what's going on in your heart. When you ask Jesus to leave a certain part of your life, like a house, right? Like if your house was represented as if your life was represented as a house, and you're going, right, God, come in for a tour, look at my whole life. Most of us would go and we'd shut the basement door, or we'd make sure that the spare bedroom, which had all our garbage in it, was closed and locked, because we don't really want God to go into that room. We want him to fix everything up, particularly the facade, the thing we show to the world. but right down the back in the spare bedroom or the backyard and the weeds in the backyard. No, don't go out and look at that. Don't touch that. That actually reveals what's going on in your idols, your affections, and your discipleship relationship.
That's sort of the picture. Like Moses, Jesus has been up the mountain. He's come down and discovered idolatry everywhere, and it's sort of like, right, what's your golden calf that you've kind of taken off the rings, thrown it in the fire, melted it down, and have solidified your little, like, this is my life. This is what's precious. This is what's going to offer safety and protection and solace and comfort and satisfaction. Jesus, take anything else, but don't mess with this, please. And that's kind of the...
Yeah, and I think the interesting about the golden calf itself is we go, oh, how ridiculous is that? How could you bow down and worship a golden calf? And we think that those guys were idiots. I'm just going to stay here with my multiple subscriptions to different streaming services and watch 25 hours of TV a week, or I'm going to idolize this relationship and this particular person who I'm going to contradict all of my values to make sure that I'm in good relationship with them. Or I'm going to continue to work 90 hours a week at the expense of my family and my relationship with the local church in order to pursue money. Like, all of these different things are golden calves of a different shape. And like everything, like every generation, we find new ways to conceal our sin and make it feel acceptable, which is an instinct that we need to react against massively, because we look just as stupid as the golden calf. I remember I used to do a lot of camps. I did this talk about God's sovereignty and intergenerational changeover and all sorts of stuff. But I put up a video of a Christian band from the 1950s, and they were wearing pastel shirts and they were wearing like this leather vest with no sleeves, and they had the sweet as haircuts, and they had this bass guitar that was just this tiny little bass guitar, and they looked just amazing. They looked like they were the best things ever. And I don't know, I wasn't alive then, but my assumption is that at least they thought they were cool in that particular moment. And they played a song, and it was as awkward as all get out. But they would have considered themselves to be popular and cool at that particular moment. But 30 years in the future, you look back and you go, man, they just were completely off the money. They didn't have their finger on the pulse. They look absolutely ridiculous now. And for every time we reflect back on the past and think, oh guys, that's awful, there's going to be a group of people in 30 years' time looking back at us going, man, we're just as uncool as that mob back there. And I think the same is true of the way that we conceal sin, the way that we do golden calves, the way that we actually do idolatry. In 30 years' time, people are going to look back at our generation and go, man, those guys completely missed the boat. How could they not see the golden calf staring them in the face? I think it's good that we actually have awareness of the fact that, you know what, there are golden calves in our lives, and what they need to do, they need to get removed. They need to be killed. They need to be cast away, because we should fear the one who has control. We should fear the Lord of everything more than we fear loss, fear of missing out, losing relationships that are inappropriate, missing out on financial opportunities, finding ways of ruining our lives when we think we're bettering them.